Hi, this is Tabletop Templar, and welcome back to another Spotlight series where I'm going to talk about a game from my collection and give my thoughts and opinions on it, and maybe talk about some of the history of it. So today we're going to talk about a game called The Guns of August. Now this is an Avalon Hill bookcase game, and it's a game that I had for a little while in my collection, and I haven't really played it as much. But I do enjoy it. I do like having a World War One game. I do like the First World War, and even though the misconception is that it's all about trench warfare, but it's really not. There are a lot of other theaters that are very interesting. Although in this particular game, it does focus mostly on the European, pretty much almost exclusively on the European theater. A little bit of Asia, as a little bit of the Ottoman Empire, but it doesn't really go beyond that. There's no Middle East, there's no Africa campaign. It really is just focuses on Europe. So, but understandable. There was a little bit of fighting in middle, certainly in Africa. A lot of more fighting in the Middle East, but majority of the war was fought in Europe. So I understand why they kept it exclusively there. Although it would be nice to see a more expanded conflict. There are other World War One games that do cover that, but this isn't one of them. This is a very early World War One game, but I do enjoy it, and it plays very similar to a lot of other kind of early those 80s Avalon Hill games. It does use a very similar system for a combat. It's the CTR table type game, so it's going to have a lot of the similarities with that. So let me open this up and show you the board. So for as you can see for this board, it uses four pieces, and they're very fairly narrow pieces for the Guns of August. It does make it all fit into the board pretty well. It kind of reminds me of the War and Peace, except that these are very a lot thinner, and it covers a smaller period of smaller territory. Whereas War and Peace would go all the way into Spain and cover all of France, and then cover more into Russia. This is a very more consolidated area for the war. So it does cover Italy, and I'll pan down here so you can see it covers most of Italy here, and it covers more the Balkans, Serbia, Albania, Montenegro, Bulgaria, Greece, a little bit of Greece here at the bottom, and as you can see a little bit of Turkey. I guess this is the I guess I was mistaken. It doesn't technically. This isn't Asia. This is part of Turkey. This is part of Europe. So it doesn't cover Asia at all, really. And so the Ottoman Empire is very limited in what it can do. It's really a minor power in this version. It has very few troops, um, but I think it does a pretty good job of covering the European War. And it really does simulate a lot of the plans, the Schlieffen Plan and the attack into Russia, Austria-Hungary. It's going to attack into Serbia, and they're also going to attack into Russia as well. Germany is going to have to decide, how much to press into Russia and how much to press against France. Which plan are they going to do? Who are they going to focus on more? And then the Allies trying to open up other fronts. So as you can see, there's these sort of yellow um, spots on the board. So some up there. Those are basically landing spots, and I'll kind of pan down here again. As you can see, these are places where you can open up other fronts. So the Allies, this is representing the Dardanelles, which is the Gallipoli campaign. Uh, and so it's going to allow you to land troops there during a during a phase. So it so there's really no naval combat. Naval combat was added later. It was sort of an optional rule. Um, you can play it, but I think it works fine if you don't and just use the landing places. It has a lot of armies. Armies will really attack into instead of the War and Peace generic strength points, they're representing larger forces of armies and have different movement. There's also other units that will be even smaller, like engineers. There's stormtroopers. I'm looking at. So here's the unit types. So there's support units. There's artillery, siege artillery, construction engineers, railroad repair engineers, and tanks and some air units as well. And then your standard unit, infantry, cavalry, and stormtroopers for Germans. And then there's all kinds of other stuff, beachheads, demoralization, train, moving by train. It really does a pretty good job of covering World War One and its limitations. I would say it does remind me of War and Peace, uh, but maybe with some of like the train aspects of um, the Civil War game. But I think that it would be very similar to War and Peace, and a lot of the other Avalon Hill games. It does have, of course, more tables, weather table, victory conditions. Um, there is some naval warfare information, and it is kind of reminding me of War and Peace with the interception table, and then there's different variable entries. So different, Britain, Italy, United States, and some of the Central Powers miners can enter at different periods than they would have historically. And the reinforcement schedule, combat results table. It's very unforgiving. Attacker eliminated, uh, attacker attrition, attacker demoralized, both demoralized. It really does feel like World War One. You're trying to capture cities, so you're trying to besiege, you know, Liège, Belgium. You're trying to attack into France for if you're Germany. You're attacking down here in Italy, besieging cities in Russia. It really feels like World War One. That's really you're trying to take out the cities. You're trying to capture territory, and there's a lot of attrition. And it does use the NATO style unit markers. So unlike War and Peace, where it's just sort of a generic infantry, cavalry, it's going to use the NATO style. So if you prefer that, then you'll probably like this. I enjoy it. I haven't played this much, but it does do a pretty good job of simulating World War One. And yeah, I would say that if you can find this for a decent price, I know some of these can be hard to find for a good. I've seen a pretty good value for these. Maybe not super expensive, but maybe not super cheap. Like I said, I think before for the War and Peace, uh, one of the videos I've done before, I said you could find the original version of War and Peace for a pretty reasonable price. With this game, I would say not super expensive, but I think that I wouldn't maybe pay a ton for it. But if this is something that you're interested in, then if it's for a decent price on eBay or secondhand, see this in a garage sale for a really good price or a thrift store, yeah, I'd grab it. I'd keep my eye out for it. It definitely it does scratch the itch if you want to play a World War I game that's not super complicated. And the other games that are out there, I think Paths of Glory, you can't play that solo. You need to have it uses cards. That's another thing about these older games is you can play them solo. There's really no hidden information. So that's why I really like having this. I don't need to have an opponent to play, unlike other games. But it is an older one. I think that this game probably could have been done a little bit better. Would have been nice if it had the Middle East and Africa fighting as well, but and maybe maybe a few more things. But I understand Europe was really where the most of the war was, even though it was called a world war. Europe is the focus, and it does a really good job of representing that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, and if you went on to enjoy this series, hopefully you watch more of these. I've got more coming. Please subscribe and tune in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.